Good evening, and welcome to Chronically PWS. I wanted to come on tonight and just talk a little bit about my day-to-day medications, how I am facing hyperphagia, how I deal with that on a day-to-day. That may be a little bit different from what you face or your loved one faces with hyperphagia. If you've followed my journey, you know that I've had quite a few weight swings in my life. First being in that stage 2A, I gained or got to the weight of 75 pounds before losing weight and starting school. That was in the midst of me being diagnosed with prader-willi, kind of figuring out what the interventions would be, what the established interventions were. And as I've stated, that for me was a low-calorie diet. We used and relied upon a lot of artificial sugars when I was younger. It was aspartame and saccharin were the two big artificial sweeteners that were in use. So it was known that you wanted to stay away from those things. At the same time, living in the rise of fat-free foods, we were introduced to sugar-heavy foods, and those would cause hyperphagia to be worse because the extra sugar that was being added into our fat-free foods. Kind of prior to the fat substitutes, when I was younger, those weren't really commonplace until I'd say late 80s, early 90s, when you had things like carnitine, things that would go into foods, additives to substitute the fat. So if things were fat-free, they were higher sugar than the standard full-fat products were. And things sold well because they were higher sugar. So my first intervention again was the low-calorie, at the time 900 calories a day diet. Managing that, doing the different diets as they come along. I've talked a little bit about anticaloric foods that we used, foods that you eat that you burn more energy in digestion than you actually do in consuming the food. I don't think it's to the point that I think the actual science has worked out a little bit on that. To say it's kind of negligible that things are really anticaloric, but these are just items that we would normally eat in a low-calorie diet anyway. So you're talking about, apples and celery and carrots and things that are high in fiber that are harder for the body to break down. So moving from that, going to low carb, with the Atkins diet, of course, eating way too many pork rinds and fatty foods, and also getting, I don't know if you've ever had this or if anyone else ever has had this. I know there's plenty of people that do it on low carb diet, but you get what's called a carb flu or carb starvation. Another thing where the carbs are so low or you've eliminated them that you can actually get sick that way too. So I've been on that spectrum. Just different diets along the way to help me manage hyperphagia. Really, the best diet, and I maintain this, that again, it's not really diet, it's lifestyle. And the best lifestyle that you can really prescribe to that I've found kind of used to be, I think it's going more towards kind of like you can try to figure out how you can eat all that you want of certain foods, and that being Weight Watchers. Say they're freestyle, they have this free foods now, that list of foods that you can really eat. And old system with Weight Watchers, that was really really good because it was so well researched that you could, and practical, that you could go anywhere out to eat and figure it out based upon points there and calories, and really got you thinking about food in a positive way in terms of how you line your nutrition up. For me, even prior to any gastric intervention that I had, I was always kind of protein focused, knowing that I got the most of my satiety and the best result and the best contentness with the higher protein foods. And this was even stepping away from low carb foods. The high protein always did the trick for me, in terms of being able to approach anything that was satiety. So, and really, carbs in general, that, breaking down of glucose in your body, and as we've studied and we know that that's a big driver of hunger, is any kind of glucose that you consume. So going to those diets in 2009, 2008, I went to the Duke School of Medicine, and both me and my wife did. And we had Roux-en-Y. Roux-en-Y helps me lose a tremendous amount of weight, as it does for a lot of people. I know there's people that have prader-willi that don't really lose weight with Roux-en-Y, and they may eat through that surgery. So it's not good for some. It's intense. Getting ready for Roux-en-Y is intense, especially when you're hyperphagic, because you're talking about going on a liver shrink diet or fatty liver diet for a couple of weeks prior to your surgery, and that is very restrictive, very, very restrictive. Again, prior to having any kind of reduction, trying to get to essentially one of those low carb protein drinks prior to having gastric bypass, and doing that with the way my stomach was at the time, it was definitely really hard. I was really happy with those results from the gastric bypass. Eventually, I did regain the weight. I got down to 276 from 400 with the Roux-en-Y, and then from 2008 until 2019, I slowly gained that weight back by just not really following the system. I will say that when I prepared again for the distal revision of Roux-en-Y, I found that I still had that tool of the stoma, the little stomach that's made for you at Roux-en-Y, and to some extent the malabsorption at that point. But the thing that about Roux-en-Y is that it's like, although your stomach is smaller and you're more malabsorptive, it's almost like if you think of a car's carburetor, your system becomes more efficient with some of those nutrients that you had before. So you're going to, when you introduce those carbs back in, your system's going to grab onto those twice as hard as it did before. Because again, your system's thinks, it's starving and it needs those. So it grabs onto those twice as hard as before. So when you cut those things out, when you do go back to a low carb, low protein diet after having Roux-en-Y, you find that you can really drop that weight really quick that you had. So that was the battle. I did not have any iron. I didn't have any kind of nutritional deficiencies, and initially I didn't. Eventually I did need an iron infusion, but it wasn't for quite a while that I needed that. I think I didn't have to have it until really maybe 2011 is when I had my first iron infusion. So a good 3-4 years after having Roux-en-Y that I needed. So in 2019, that next intervention, that distal revision of Roux-en-Y. So where you have the Roux-en-Y and you've got the jejunum, and what they do is they take that structure that's been worked out, the stoma, the newer limb that where they bypassed your duodenum. They move it down further, so you have more of a malabsorptive aspect. They looked at the stoma again for me, and I had a hiatal hernia on the stoma. So this time they went ahead and repaired that hiatal hernia. It made such a big difference for me. I was having really bad reflux. I mean, devastatingly bad reflux. I had magic mouthwash that I had to take because of the reflux that I would get from this weight gain and the gastric issues that I had. So fixing the hiatal hernia and doing this distal revision of gastric bypass, again, I ballooned back up to 440, and now I'm way back down again, which is great. However, there is a cost to this, and it comes from a medication that I have to take now called Creon. This is digestive enzymes. I have, and I mentioned this in the other video, exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, meaning that my because of the pancreas is fine. I don't really have pancreatitis as far as they can tell. I do have a fat deposit in the pancreas. I don't have any fat deposit in the liver. The liver's normal. That's awesome, not to have fatty liver anymore. But do have a little bit of a deposit in the pancreas. So, but really because of malabsorption in the distal revision, I don't get enough pancreatic enzymes into the food tract to really digest the food well. So, high fat foods are they're just treacherous to my system. So I have to take these for the lack of enzymes that actually get into the food that I eat once I eat and in digestion. So this can be quite expensive. It's there's a lot of those enzymes in this, but really pancreatic enzymes are something you can find under non-trade names online. They're not really going to be as engineered and probably as effective as these are, but they're that I can take, and I do find that these are great, but I still have some effect with those non-Creon pancreatic enzymes. So that's in the dosage of these are 2 before a meal, any meal, any snack, anytime I eat, I should take 2 of these. So kind of think about it in terms of like, if you're lactose intolerant, you want to take Lactaid when you eat lactose, but this is like that, but you do it with every meal and every snack. $2,000 a month if you don't have insurance to pay for it. But again, the stuff that you buy that's enzymes, it's good, it'll work, it's just not as effective as these. And in my situation, I would say that if you had chronic pancreatitis, you don't want to mess around, take the Creon. But in my situation, I think I can do a little bit of both. You know, I have these and I have those, and I've got insurance to cover that. It's just it's an authorization process anytime I want to get that refilled. So I wanted to go over some of the other medicines that I have here. I use this Tums as calcium compensation as far as that goes, so I can have calcium. I've tried calcium citrate. It's really, really hard on my stomach. It's just really hard to take. So these being chewable, they've done a lot of research on the difference between carbonate and citrate, and these are really just digestible. Of course, I have a bariatric multivitamin that I take, which is good. I also, because this is supposed to be thicker, also take biotin, which is B vitamin. This is most likely nutritional as well. So hand, skin, fingers, biotin. Take that. Good stuff. Let's see. Vitamin D, once a week. I'm on vitamin D. And this is really good stuff too. This is to compensate the multi that I take. This is your fat soluble vitamins A, D, E, K. Good stuff. That's what I take for that. Now I'm going to talk about this medication. It's my site medication, Trintellix. What I found, I've been on a lot of different ones. When I was in high school, I was on Prozac. Initially, I think everybody's on Prozac at one time in their life or another. Then I went to Effexor. And then it was a while before I was back on anything. Then I started on Paxil, and Paxil is a great medication for general anxiety disorder, but you will get withdrawals from Paxil, and you will gain weight on Paxil. But let me tell you, you are the probably as docile of a human being that you can you could ever be on Paxil, because you just don't have any counter ambition about things. You're not like, somebody can say, go paint the house. You could be completely exhausted and be like, all right, I'll go paint the house. You could be tired anyway. If every salesman had their sales client on Paxil, there would be a lot of sales. People, credit card debt would be crazier than it is now if everybody was on Paxil medication. It really is. It's awesome what it does. But Trintellix is great. I was on Lexapro and bupropion, and I have attention deficit disorder. Is why I'm in a goofy mood tonight. I think it might be the anemia, but this really eliminated a lot of things for me. So it's prior to this, I was on a medication called Vibrid, vortioxetine. My wife was going to leave me on vortioxetine because the trauma response and things that I had, the sideways rage, where you just get mad about stuff because you think of things in your past and you think that everybody's, running over you or whatever, then you do that on Vibrid. I felt great on it. I felt like, man, I'm awesome. I felt like the Incredible Hulk. But yeah, my wife was like, you can no longer take that medicine. You can no longer take that medicine. So I made a change. All right, so multi-resistant UTIs. I've got some antibiotics here that I just have on hand because, you change course because you get an antibiotic, you get an infection, they culture. They say, oh, it's not sensitive to that, then you change course. So I keep different antibiotics here. Here is Ceftonir. I'm allergic to it. I have to take Benadryl with it, but I do take it if I need it. Another cephalosporin, cefpodoxamine. I'm allergic to it. I have to take Benadryl with it, but it's a good medicine. One I'm not allergic to, but it really isn't effective for the infections that I get, doxycycline. All right, so if you don't want to really fix a UTI, but you want your skin to look great, you can take some doxycycline. And this one, so like most people that develop any kind of allergy to antibiotics, the first one you do is penicillin. I'm now allergic to cephalosporins. Some cephalosporins got that sensitivity, taking that Benadryl with those. Rocephin for sure. But penicillins, I had a challenge with those, and I can tolerate them now. Thank goodness. Your body changes over time, so what you may be allergic to younger, you're not anymore. So ampicillin, this is the this is the bomb.com for penicillin derivatives or penicillin related medicines. So again, these are just oral medicines that I may have taken in the past year. Of course, you got to have your fast-acting Tylenol. For UTIs, another thing you got to have is some Pyridium or AZO Standard. Key if you're going to stay comfortable with UTI. Then, Zyrtec, got to take that. Those are normal things. And because I'm a dentist, of course, what you got to have on hand is your tablets and your glue. I call it teeth glue. A lot of people say adhesive. It is denture. No, it's teeth glue. Anyway, that's where I'm at right now with medicines. Luckily, I'm not in that. I've got some supplies here to do in-home health if I need another PICC line or what have you. I haven't had that in a while. Another thing, whenever you have in-home health, important thing, you might not think of this, is you get saline flushes if you have an IV or PICC line. Keep the saline flushes. Keep them with you because they make great, like, single use, like nasal flushes, ear flushes, just flushes. You don't need them for an IV. It's just saline in a syringe, and they give you way too many of them whenever home health comes. So keep them. They're awesome. That's a pointer there if you're on home health. So my health conditions aren't necessarily what you're going to face, what your child or loved one's going to face. These are maybe unique to me in this regard. The UTIs, of course, if you have to have reconstructive surgery, things like I've had, that might be something you have to deal with, is those. Obesity, being a big encouraging UTIs too. So that can be part of how you may develop a UTI. The exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, I think, is just kind of to the gastric surgeries that I've had, specific to those. Again, a lot of you may, and your loved ones, it wouldn't be a good fit for them. Like I said, that first surgery really wasn't durable. This surgery is durable, but I'm having to take these eventually I may not. So wanted to talk a little bit about, I kind of brought this up. These were my blood numbers from, I've got iron, I've got chronic anemia of chronic disease because of the infections I get. So I've got this constant inflammation response that eats away at my blood a little bit. Where it didn't really eat it away, it doesn't. So that was the RBC, the iron level, transferrin, you can see that. And then show you, this is my RBC. So you can see I'm pretty low right now. I'm hoping they can call me here in the next couple days and get something going for me for that. But yeah, that's what I'm currently doing. Again, when I eat, it's not really restricted, but I'm very conscientious about eating protein and trying to eat low fat. That's really hard when you're eating a lot of protein, but that really is where my focus is. I still drink coffee, immense amounts of coffee. I try to do it. My wife's going to say, now, don't you tell them you don't use sugar in your coffee, because I do. I use sugar. I don't need to, but I do. And I do coffee and milk and sugar. So that's really where I'm at dietarily now. I don't know how relatable this will be to you guys, but if any of you adults have had Roux-en-Y or any kind of gastric surgery, and you want to talk about it with me, definitely reach out. Again, parents, young parents, it's not something you want to approach, even think about right now. And a lot of kids, you really aren't a good fit for Roux-en-Y and distal and any kind of gastric surgery. But again, you can talk with your primary care doctor about that. And again, gastric surgery is something that's been going on for Prader-Willi for the beginning, since they started doing it. So a lot of morbidity to the gastric surgery for Prader-Willi, but it is something that's definitely been attempted, and it's worked for me now. I hope that it can continue to hold my weight, and I hope that maybe eventually I won't have to take these pancreatic enzymes, but it looks like I'm probably going to. But there are worse things in the world. As you can see, I already take a lot of medication, so that's that. So that's where I'm at. Anemia, chronic disease, exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, lots of vitamins, lots of antibiotics. So again, thank you for watching Chronically PWS, and I definitely reach out to me through YouTube, through Facebook, through Instagram, and thank you so much for again watching the videos up to this point. I'll continue to post and make new videos, and I'm glad to have you. If you or your loved one are dealing with Prader-Willi syndrome, I would encourage you to get engaged in the community. There is a lot of cynicism, but also a lot of optimism, and it's different generational feelings about the disease, about the syndrome as time is going on. So, but we all make each other stronger, and we all get different varying viewpoints, and we can all learn from each other. I've learned so much getting integrated back into this community, and it's been a blessing to my life. I know it's inspired my family, and I really love this community, and I don't know how much time in this world I'll be here. I hope I hope that when I pass, that I'm in that specific day, I'm the oldest living person with Prader-Willi syndrome, and then the next day there'll be someone a day older than me, hopefully, that lives even longer, or however long. I'm not attached to the dates anymore. I used to think, because we're told 21, 30, we're given different life expectancies, but I'm not so attached to that anymore, because sometimes it's not about how long you're here, it's about what you're doing here. And I'm really glad to be doing this and to be reaching out and talking to you. I love you. I hope you have a good night, and I'll see you again soon on the Chronically PWS.